Hi, good day, everyone, and welcome. My name is Nabila Natarajan. I am a consultant in recruiting and onboarding. I work with my clients to help them get the most out of those SuccessFactors solutions. And today I am joined by Mr. Lorne Kurtz. Let's bring Lorne out. Oh, wow, Lorne, you look quite comfortable there. Okay, we're gonna do a quick change. You good?
Sorry, I didn't realize, I told everyone to come in their LinkedIn, StreamYard best. I didn't think I'd be right on video right away. With
That's
these,
okay. That's
COVID
fine.
situations, online platforms, we just never know what each one does. But
You got to
thank
sneak in a
you.
nap when you can, Lauren. That's fine.
Got to be on our best for this. But again, on that, I hope everybody is definitely staying safe. For those of you who are back in your offices, definitely dressing to the nines. And for those of you who are still at home doing these virtual meetings, snuggle up, get comfy, and buckle in for what we're going to be sharing here for recruiting and onboarding here for the H1 2021 release.
Excellent, excellent. Let's dive right into it, Lauren. We're gonna kick off with recruiting to start. Recruiting had a good number of feature updates this time. Most of them were really focused in the recruiting posting and career site builder areas. That's where we saw a lot of the meat of this release, and then a few nice to haves in the other areas.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, I think,
Yeah.
we're seeing the continuation from the H2 2020 release with the fact that recruiting posting is now free to use from kind of SAP SuccessFactors side. So they're expanding on that capability. So I think that's fair to say that, for all the companies out there that currently have, vendors out there doing kind of your job board postings and all that, but yet you're not using recruiting posting, take advantage of it. Again, now that you don't have to kind of do that extra double cost on the SuccessFactors side, I hope you see kind of some of the extra value add that SAP has put into it. So I think with that, Nabila, I think you're going to start with some of the highest impacts. And I think that does start with recruiting posting this time, right?
It sure does. It sure does. The first feature we want to talk to you about is the multiple location posting, and that is something that our clients have been asking for so long. The ability to post multiple locations to job boards, and it's something that is now going to be available with recruiting posting for any job boards that support it, that support the ability to have multiple locations. And you can use this in two ways. You can kind of manually add in your multiple locations right before you post to recruiting posting. Or the easier way to go, if you are currently using the location object on your requisition template, it has the ability to be a multi-select object. So if you already have those multiple locations on your object on your rec, you can just map them into recruiting posting. And again, any supported job boards will be able to get posted to all those locations.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's huge. Is that's the biggest thing that we've kind of been hearing from a lot of our clients over the last little bit is the multi-location object became available probably about a year ago, maybe just over that, and yet it couldn't be connected into the job board. So this isn't to say, that every single job board is ready for it, but the fact is that now SuccessFactors has moved and connected the job boards capability to do multi-location. You could either be, as Nabila said, synced in, manually put in, is that it's going in the right direction. So Nabila, have you kind of seen, has there been any big ones? Is it mainly in certain areas or certain regions, anything like that for kind of our listeners to know at this time?
For the multi-location, yeah, we've seen in the documentation so far, we've seen Stepstone, a job board out of Germany that does look like it does support it. We're expecting to see more and more kind of as the release notes keep coming out, or release updates keep coming out, more info on that.
Exactly. So again, we know, we're here on LinkedIn. That would definitely be the big one for anybody at SAP or LinkedIn. If you're listening, let's get that connected ASAP. Let's kind of get it working for our clients here who are listening in with the multi-location functionality for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think there are a couple other updates in recruiting posting. Is that right, Lauren?
Yeah, there's two other ones that I think both of us would say are useful to know and important for this time around. So a big one is the notice when a certain job board is unavailable. So, currently today when you try and post, everything is just static and you don't really know if a board's unavailable and then what that causes the API integration not to work. And then you're not notified about it and, kind of you're questioning why didn't it get there. So now what happens is that if the board is down because it's either been removed, on their side, and yet it's still selectable in SuccessFactors, rightfully so. It does take some time for it to be disconnected at both ends. Or if the job board's just down for its regular maintenance, which might not align to kind of your business hours, it will now show you a status that says that that job board is unavailable for the time being. Kind of, you would have to take down a mental note or a manual note to come back and reconnect it. But again, I think it's a nice value add. Hopefully it's not that often, not during your typical business hours that the boards are doing their maintenance. But again, it's the fact that SuccessFactors and the boards don't always align on when they're doing their maintenance period. So the fact is that SuccessFactors now tells you when that board is unavailable is a nice little add for it. And continuing kind of on, invalid elements or if something is down. Another one that's a nice to have and important to know for recruiting posting is there are now job statuses for invalid fields. So, I know we've seen this with a lot of our clients is that they just they post the board or they post the job through recruiting posting and then something isn't working or it isn't syncing properly. And we have to investigate it one at a time to figure out what field is the issue or anything like that. So now it comes back with a statement that says which fields are invalid after it tries to post it. So it's a lot less time on investigative matters. And again, it's a lot, definitely more helpful for clients to figure it out without potentially have to bring in their professional service partners to support these cases.
Absolutely. I know in the past with issues like that, SuccessFactors doesn't own the job board, and so they really weren't able to provide too much more information, and it required that back and forth with the job board. So this is great. It gives you an extra piece of information and might be able to fix those invalid fields on your own and not need any of that back and forth. So that's great.
Definitely. And so I know we kind of been, the big ones right now have been recruiting posting, but Nabila, I think there is a big impact one from CSB perspective into recruitment, correct?
Yes, this is probably the one I'm most excited about. It is the ability to now set your site sources in Career Site Builder. So where this comes into play is in recruiting, there is a tab called the Source Tracker. And a lot of our clients use that to build their own campaigns for marketing specific jobs. So you might have a campus career fair, or maybe you want to do campaign tracking at your individual recruiter level. But for all of that tracking, you need to be able to set URLs with a particular source on them. And SAP's got a library of these sources. For most of our clients, when they first went live, they kind of looked through that library, picked and chose what they wanted to have, and then kind of forgot about it, never went back to it. And there wasn't an easy way before. If you wanted to change the options you had in the source tracker, you had to do that in the back end, and that required working with your partner or with SAP. And now they've brought that into the front end, right in Manage Career Site Builder. You have the ability to add or take away those sources, and that's really great to be able to have that at your fingertips.
And I think to add, I think that's, an important one, right? Is that data is extremely important in connecting it with, advanced analytics and kind of that source tracker. But again, the important thing to know, because I know we've gotten this question a little bit, is that source tracker in these edits, they're only with Career Site Builder. They're not with the basic SuccessFactors external career site standalone. So again, for any clients who are like, oh, well, we want to see kind of that source tracker information when we're looking at the application work queue. Again, if you do not have CSB, I think this is now another element as to why you should be migrating and utilizing CSB for your external environments. Because again, data is key, right? As much as we can kind of figure out and as clients can figure out where to spend their budgetary dollars, it definitely helps.
Absolutely. A strong reason to get into Career Site Builder if you don't have it already. And even for our clients that do have Career Site Builder, a lot of them haven't had a chance to take advantage of the CRM, the Candidate Relationship Management features that have now been out for years. So they're no longer, an early adopter. We're still figuring this thing out. They've been in practice and in use by many clients for years now. And that CRM functionality, goes hand in hand with this source tracker as well. You can create landing pages and data capture forms and just many different ways to attract people to come in and see your jobs and apply for them.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. We know we live in the acronym world here. So CRM, candidate relationship management, and all the tools that kind of go with it. Again, as Nabila said, it's been out there for years now. So no need to hide behind it or think it's still new or not fully vested. It's definitely the case. And, email jobs, and especially if you're transferring from one career site to another or one ATS to something else, and you're thinking about it, right? The use of that CRM tool to invite people to your new source, and or again, especially now with a lot being virtual, inviting people to it because you're not potentially having in-person job fairs. There are a ton of business reasons for people to be utilizing these CRM tools that SuccessFactors offers.
Absolutely.
So I think those are kind of the three of the bigger impacts for recruitment this release, but that doesn't mean that there's not more. So I think, Nabila, is there something that you kind of would say, might not be at the highest level, but would definitely be important to know, maybe from a security perspective for our clients?
Yeah, I think so. We've had a few things that have come up in this release that have to do with security. One of those is changes to the cookie management. Previously, there was the ability to have a cookie banner added to the career site builder site that allowed people to accept cookies, but it was generic. So there wasn't any further selection beyond that. It was just the option to accept cookies. And so the change to that, it's now no longer just that small banner. There is now more of a pop-up that gives you the ability to set or accept different kinds of cookies. There are required cookies that you have to accept to use the site. There's also functional and performance cookies. The important thing to note about this new feature is that if you are using the legacy cookie banner, the older version of it, it's not going away for now anyway. They've gone ahead and built in a tab into Manage Career Site Builder in the admin page to be able to maintain that legacy banner. So you're not forced to move away from it. But if you want to make a change, or if you don't have the banner and you want to look into that, it's something we definitely recommend. Chat with your IT team, let them look at this feature and make a recommendation for whether it's useful for you.
Yeah, and I think, something to add with that is it's definitely called cookie management. For those who are not, 100% aware of what the cookie is, it's kind of like a tracker. So it's to figure out kind of what sites are potentially tracking your activity, right? And with security and everybody wanting to kind of own their own data, the nice part about also, I would say, with the cookie management is it can now be individualized, right? Through the acceptances, they can kind of select what they want to select, what they don't want to select, assuming that the website and that CSV client puts it on that level. So again, for anybody who's listening, if you kind of are worried about, losing potential candidates because maybe they don't want a full-fledged tracking capability, which currently it is today, that they have to accept all cookies. You can now customize it, put on specific ones, show them all of it. And I think the also nice part is that when you put on that tab, they have the ability to go back and then they can edit it as they see it, right? So now, as you said, the current standard JavaScript version is just I accept. And unless a client or a user goes into an incognito or a private browser, they're not really shown that browser again. They would have to know how to do it through their internet browser. Whereas now, again, if you put in this cookie management tab, you're giving your candidates the capability to say what they want to be tracked and what they don't want to be tracked on. And I think we're hearing that more and more from just the general population, that they want to kind of be in charge of their data and what it's being shared with, and how it's being used out there.
Absolutely. Yep. Puts the power in the hand of the candidate. And another nice little thing, it lets you choose if you want to place that new banner at the top of the site or the bottom of the site. Nice little addition. Lets you have a little more control.
Yeah, and especially right when we're talking about different screen sizes, mobile, tablet, desktop, laptop, whatever it might be. Sure, why not, right? It's a nice little easy UI. Give it to kind of the administrator. So hey, kind of little UI ads are always nice to have.
Yeah.
So the other thing, we actually have a special guest joining us. So I think everyone should kind of become all ears to listen up of what's going on with SSL certification.
Good, everybody. I'm so glad that I was able to join you here. I'm like Nabila and Lorne are. I'm very excited about this new feature. I've been working for the past few years with clients who suddenly realized that their career site has this ugly little box instead of a beautiful site that says, you must tell us that it's okay to go to this site because it's no longer secure. So when you first set up your career site, obviously the first thing you did was you created a certificate. And being the first thing you did, it's always the first thing you forget. So SuccessFactors in this release has provided the ability within Career Site Builder tool to identify some of your users who are going to be notified now that when those certificates expire. So the feature is basically just your SSL certificate renewal reminder. What you do to get there is really easy. Just navigate to Career Site Builder, select your role, go into your admin user, and there's just a little toggle that says enable SSL notification. It's really, really straightforward. With a little more information, you can get a notification at least 33 days in advance of your certificate expiring. So for example, because I'm a little math challenged this early in the day, a renewal today on April 26, 2021, you will get a reminder on April 26, 2022. So if we do the math, that's 365 days next year, that your certificate will expire on May 29th, 2022. So a full 33 days before the certificate expires. So, and if you've not hit that yet and you're not quite sure how to renew your certificate, it's really straightforward. First, if you don't know when your certificate expires, what you can do is you can go to your career site, right click, and hit that inspect button. And from that menu, when you go to inspect, there's a security tab where you can actually view your certificate. And the very first thing listed on that certificate is your expiration date. I highly recommend, if you've got a career site out there, go out there and check that, just so that you can put that on your calendar, because all certificates within the SuccessFactors career site universe, as it were, have a 398-day window. So sometime between now and this time next year, that career site certificate will expire. Now, renewing, it's really straightforward. If you don't remember how you did it the first time, all you got to do is capture 7 quick pieces of information, send those to your partner, like Rizing, and what we will do is we will get you a certificate signing request that you will then take to the company that you bought your certificate from. They will give you the certificate that you will then give to a partner, like Rizing, and then we will send that to SAP. They will load it. Easy peasy. What is it they say? Bob's your uncle. Certificate's renewed. So the piece of the puzzle that we were missing that is just really exciting that is now available is that notification piece. So pop out to your test instance, take a look at it. If you're not exactly sure where it is, let us know. Don't forget, you can also go out to the What's New viewer. There's a beautiful picture out there that tells you exactly where you can find that feature. So terribly exciting stuff for those of us that are CSB geeks.
And Tracy, it seems like we have a question out there. So do you need to enable CSB user roles, or is this feature available to the general user roles? So I think what that is that within Career Site Builder, when you go to the users, there's that little toggle, right, to enable the roles. Is that, I think some have it on, some don't. But I think the question is, do you actually have to use that, or is this available without that?
I believe it's available without it because it's not actually part of a user role. It's part of the admin role. So to have admin access to Career Site Builder, you have to have role-based permissioning. So it's part of, if you think of accessing managed Career Site Builder, it's not going to be necessarily a user role so much as that admin role. So when you get to the role page, you'll actually have to click on the admin tab to be able to see the enable SSL notifications. So I can't wait to see what the notifications look like.
Perfect. And, I think we are getting some comments out there that are very good info and very useful. So I think, Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tracy.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
So, Nabila, to keep us going and kind of in terms of what is kind of useful for us, right? Outside of just recruitment and onboarding, is that we should be telling our clients, as we do ourselves and anyone out there using SuccessFactors, to also take a look at the platform release features, because some of those definitely loop over into recruiting and onboarding. So is there anything that you would like to speak of in terms of from what's on the platform release that would be important to know?
Yeah, absolutely. And once in a while, they'll kind of pull those platform things into the recruiting release, but not always. So, as Lauren said, great idea to check the platform, see if there's anything relevant. One important thing to note is that the legacy pick list management is going to be fully deprecated. Now, I believe all of the clients that we have at Rizing have already moved over into the new Picklist Center tool. It's something that for actually several years now, we've been working on getting off of the legacy Picklist management and over to Picklist Center. But there are some clients that kind of we're still working through that process. So as of November 18th, 2021, November 18th, the tool will be completely deleted and no longer available. So if for any reason you're not on Picklist Center yet, make sure you're on the way to getting there before November.
Yeah, and I feel like most SuccessFactors clients probably are, right? Is that the end of maintenance was almost 3 years ago from the time that it's being completely deleted. So, the note says December 31st, 2018 is when they stopped maintenance on it. That's almost 3 years, which is definitely enough time from my perspective for clients to have shifted over. There definitely were some bumps along the way, but again, we've had no issues with any of the clients working between the two and transitioning over. So fair enough that they are getting rid of it all. To keep it going, another one that I would say that is important for customers to be aware of, but nothing that's kind of imminent right now for the recruiting, is this new tool of Center of Capabilities. So it's a new framework that SuccessFactors is going to be going for capabilities and competencies library. So again, this is just on the platform side, but as everybody probably knows, listening in here for the recruitment side of it, is competencies is used within your job profile builder or on your requisitions. So today, you can create competencies in job profile builder, whereas sometime in the future, there's no exact date on it, but it definitely is the way that SuccessFactors is going to be going, is that all of that functionality is going to be shifted, that the competencies are going to be put into the Center of Capabilities and not into job profile builder. And then through the external codes, instead of a unique GUID, it will actually be connected back to the job profile builder and into your requisitions. So again, just something for everyone to be aware of. Take a look at the platform release, look into your Center of Capabilities, especially if you are using competencies on your requisition, and even more so if you are using job profile builder today in recruitment.
That's really interesting. I definitely want to kind of keep an eye on that one, because for any clients that are using Interview Central and using competencies for your ratings, it'll be interesting to see if that's impacted at all, or kind of how we might need to change, or if it'll work exactly the same. So definitely something to keep an eye on.
Definitely, right? And I think, working with either our EC partners or our platform partners and all that, I think we're going to be able to kind of get ahead of it and know how it's really going to start connecting into recruitment for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely a little bit more to keep going, right? Is that I know that there might not be as big of a bang kind of with this release for recruitment, but there's definitely some additional nice to haves and things for everybody to kind of be aware of. So to kind of kick off that topic is that the one that's out there that I would say is the enhanced password policy. This is for external candidates and for agency users only. So again, this is not on the platform side. This is not for your internal users, right? Just for your external candidates and for your agency. So the big one to note is that SuccessFactors has increased the minimum length to 8 characters. Currently today, there was no minimum. So there could be some clients out there that had, 4 or 6. I will say from our investigation, Nabila, tell me if you found anybody. I have not found a client yet that has been under that minimum 8 threshold yet. So it's tough to say exactly how it automatically shifts or how it will, because we haven't had a client that we've seen it. But what it is that for any of your candidates, in case you are below that 8 threshold, SuccessFactors is stating that it will not impact your candidates who have already had a profile. It is only if they are going to reset their password or if they are a brand new candidate or agency that they will be forced to have a minimum password length of 8 characters. So again, should be a minimal impact to everybody, and that's where it's just a nice to have, a general importance to know. And then the other part of it is also the log out feature. So it used to be that you can set how many log out attempts that somebody can try. Now SuccessFactors actually hard coded that as 5. We have seen this with our clients that had it set to a little bit more. It automatically decreases it to 5, and it becomes a read-only style element within your managed recruiting password, sorry, not managed recruiting, but in the password policy settings in Admin Center. So again, in case any of your documentation, any of your drafts for your general admin support was out there for your external candidates or your agencies that said maybe you tried it 8 times or 10 times, that should now be adjusted down to 5 times. So again, it is now going to be 5 for everybody for how many incorrect attempts they can before they get logged out.
It's one more kind of in the line of security updates. Last year, we saw the update come out for the one-time password, right? Getting people to do essentially a multi-factor authorization to create an account. This one now enhancing the password policy, and it'd be a good idea to jump into your production environment, go to that password configuration page that Lorne mentioned, and just check and make sure you've got at least 8 already set as your minimum. If not, just plan to make that change.
Awesome. Yeah. What else do you have out there, kind of, Nabila, to tell our listeners in terms of just general nice to have for this release?
Yeah, there's a few more nice to haves. I think one is on the career site builder side. They've now increased the custom font size that you can load into CSV. A lot of our clients use the standard fonts, and that's completely fine. But if you have a custom font that is part of your brand that you want reflected on your career site, previously the limit was 500 KB. So if you had a font size, file larger than that, you couldn't upload it. And now they've increased that to 50 MB. So we've got that. And then one more little nice to have is on the recruiting posting side with field completion. If you want to be able to pull in some operator information, let's say your recruiter, your manager, you want to get their name, their email, their phone number pulled into recruiting posting, that field completion ability is in there now too, which is great.
Awesome. And then I think the last thing to kind of throw out here for recruiting before we jump into onboarding is, as with every release, right? Everybody take a look at kind of what boards are out there on the marketplace. The recruiting posting kind of are always updated monthly, so they're not just updated on the release schedule. So some of these boards might already be available out there. There was a couple in France, one in Spain, Switzerland, Vietnam, Canada, but overall, it's always out there. And to view the most updated list, just go into recruiting posting and click on view the job board marketplace, and kind of in connection with overall connections to job boards. The last thing to kind of be on the lookout for, again, here at Rizing, we don't have any clients that are utilizing these, but it's still good for the community to be aware of, is that Twitter and JobVite are being depreciated. So again, the big thing with Twitter is, don't get me wrong, we all love Twitter, we all love our social media aspect, but it was always every single post was put out there, and it would just seem to be a little bit too much for majority, if not all, of clients. So not surprising that SuccessFactors is depreciating that. And then again, with JobVite, it's now going to recruiting posting instead of it. So again, it's the wave of the future. So if you're currently not using recruiting posting, again, another shameless plug to give us a call, hit us up, get out to your partners, whoever you're listening for and through, or at the same time, right, with recruiting posting, you can now do it on your own. So get out there, kind of look at the blogs, look at the documentation. Nabila, anything else to kind of plug in there for recruiting posting?
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason not to at least check it out and try it. There's tons of free boards in there. So even if you're not ready to create a contract and purchase, a contract with the board, just check out the free boards and try it out. You're no longer charged credits to use the recruiting posting tool. So check it out, and absolutely let us know if you have questions about it.
Perfect. So I think that's it for kind of 2021 1H. But Nabila, what do you kind of got out there? What are you excited about in terms of the future roadmap of what's there for recruiting?
Yeah, so recruiting's got, we're expecting some big changes to come in the next year or two. From what we've seen in the roadmap for the rest of this year, SAP's working on improving both the candidate search for recruiters as well as the candidate's own job search on the search experience. So we're expecting to see more about that. There's supposed to be updates to the application workbench. Right now, especially for our clients that have a large volume of applicants that come into one job rec, it's really tough. It can be really tough to manage those candidates and in a timely manner, and to be able to pick out who are the most qualified and top candidates to move forward in the process. And so that's another theme that we're seeing in the roadmap, that they're going to try to make that process easier where it can be made.
Yeah, and I know I'm seeing that kind of even through to 2022, right? Is that simplifying the end recruiting process, connecting requisition data and application data, as you kind of were just saying about the workbench. I'm hopeful for being able to customize the requisition display options. Would be a nice thing to have. You can do it on the application side, but we know we have a lot of clients that are always asking, hey, can we add this requisition custom field into that to make it easier for us to figure it out, or anything to do with pre-screening questions, which is currently extractable out of Integration Center right now. But again, anything like that to kind of make the data easier consumed easier would definitely be advantageous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And coming up in 2022, the roadmap's got something on there about improving collaboration with hiring managers. That's something we hear from a lot of our clients as well, that managers need simpler ways to be able to interact with the system, so that it's not just all happening outside the system. Of course, the system is not a replacement for conversations that should still be happening, but at the same time, it's got to be able to work hand in hand and facilitate it and not duplicate work. So excited to see what's going to come out from that.
Yeah, and again, I kind of add my hopeful onto that. Hopefully, it's a little bit more on the mobile side and the mobile capabilities for hiring managers. We know that currently today they can approve requisitions, they can kind of approve offers, but they can't really do too much in terms of viewing the candidate information or the requisition information past those approvals on a mobile platform. So especially with everybody working from home right now, I think that would be a huge win kind of on the recruitment collaboration for hiring managers.
Absolutely. Totally agree. All right. Well, with that, Lorne, I think let's jump into onboarding. Let's start talking about that. What's your impression of what we've got here with onboarding?
So the biggest one kind of in terms of onboarding is the rebranding of onboarding. So no, we're not going all the way back to putting it by name or anything like that. That we've always talked about it over the last couple of LinkedIn Lives, that it was always onboarding 2.0 and then onboarding. And so now, just to make everybody aware, SAP SuccessFactors has actually made a complete 180 on it. So now onboarding 2.0 is called onboarding. And let's call it legacy onboarding, or now it's actually being branded as onboarding 1.0 will be called out as that. So any kind of customers out there that are currently using onboarding 1.0, if you go and you take a look at your production environment, all of your admin center tools and connections, it just says onboarding. Whereas if you go now into your preview environment, everything is called onboarding 1.0. Not a big change, but just something to be aware of, especially for those customers that are using onboarding and onboarding 1.0, that's going to be the biggest change and kind of just visual impact for you, because it was just all onboarding at once, or maybe onboarding 2.0. So it's also how I think you're going to hear us talk about it, consultants talk about it, SAP talk about it, right? It's now going to be onboarding and onboarding 1.0. So again, not a major impact, but definitely something to be aware of. So when you're talking about it and you can understand it and kind of just be, influenced by how it's going to keep going, because this is going to be, again, the way it's going and the push towards onboarding away from onboarding 1.0 for SAP SuccessFactors.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Lauren, as you said, it impacts, it's in your system as well. So when you look at the onboarding tab in the drop down, whether it's you as an admin or your managers or anyone else that uses the onboarding module, it does say 1.0 now, something to be aware of.
Definitely. And so, I know Onboarding 1.0 was kind of a minor release. So we will talk about kind of those highlights, but let's start with Onboarding 2.0, or again, just onboarding. And Nabila, what were kind of the highest impacts for you? I think they were more on the compliance side, but I think that's what we've been waiting for, really.
Yes, absolutely. One of the biggest reasons we hear from our clients about why they chose to wait and not yet move over to the new onboarding has been compliance. And so finally now we see that delivered with this release. It's really exciting. With this release, we now see support for E-Verify, the work authorization verification in the US. That is now supported. It's still been marked as early adopter. Just keep in mind it's the first release it's come out in, so it does have that early adopter mark in it, but it is open. It's released. You don't have to be, it's supported as part of the 2.0 or now onboarding product.
It's going to be hard for us to kind of remember
that'll be a little tricky. We'll we'll make it clear which one we're talking about. The other compliance pieces that we have now are on the I-9 side. Again, with the U.S. compliance, we now are going to see support for data correction. So if data was entered incorrectly, a mistake was made, and you need to update it on the I-9, that is now supported with the new onboarding. We've got support for Section 3, which is the I-9 re-verification. For those that need re-verification, that's now supported. And then also the remote workflow, which in these COVID times has become more and more needed for a lot of companies, is the ability to do Section 2 of the I-9 remotely, to go to a notary or to just do it outside of the system. That remote workflow is now also supported with the new onboarding. And another small one, the Pennsylvania residency certificate, that was previously missing and now is also supported. Tell us, Lorne, how about on the Canadian side of things? Anything new there?
Yeah, so kind of just like the US I-9, is that now on the Canadian side, the state or the provincial and territory tax forms are now supported, and that's for a general availability. So Nabila, I know you kind of were talking about the early adoption, and that just for E-Verify on the US side. And so again, for those of you out there who don't know, the early adoption is a general program that SAP SuccessFactors offers for clients, and you have to sign up and you have to register for it. SAP does put a cap and a limit on how many of their clients can be designated and registered for the early adopting program. And so right now, as Nabila was saying, that E-Verify supported in the new onboarding environment, again, it's only for early adopters. There's no general and always consistent timeline when something gets moved from early adopting to general availability, but the I-9 forms and the Canadian the Canadian compliance forms, those are all general availability. So those everybody can see out there today in their test environment and their production environments for it. So make sure that you take a look at the What's New viewer and that specific area of terms of availability, right? Is that we don't want anybody kind of saying, oh, hey, like something should be generally available. Look what's coming. And yet you don't see it, because you might not be registered or signed up for that early adopter program. And again, sometimes it might take a full release. Sometimes it'll kind of be a mid-release feature that will become general available for people, but just something on that side. So again, to reiterate, everything for I-9, the remote workforce, the Canadian side, general availability, the E-Verify support for the new onboarding is still just early adopting, an early adopter program.
Great call out, Lorne.
So yeah, I think those are the biggest ones, right? Is that definitely everything to do with compliance is huge. As we've been promoting for the last couple of LinkedIn Lives, you said it, that's what kind of a lot of our North American clients have been waiting for, and here it is. So again, I think we said it last time, and we'll repeat it again, right? Is that get in there now. Everybody who's thinking about kind of shifting over and migrating from onboarding 1.0 to onboarding, if you haven't already kind of had those talks internally as a business and with your professional service providers, now's the time to definitely do it. Again, it takes a couple of months, right? There is no lift and shift. There's no kind of easy changeover. It's a rebuild. It will definitely take time to understand the differences. So again, take that time. Now's the time better than ever to kind of get that. But I think with the new onboarding, Nabila, what kind of other nice to haves you think are out there that might sell people if compliance isn't the only thing for them?
Well, I think there's one of the nice to haves is the ability to create a custom card with the latest homepage for what used to be known as new hire activities. So in the 1.0 product, You had limitations on certain activities that you could set up for new hires. So that could be the manager leaving a welcome message for their new hire to see on their homepage on their first day, or perhaps setting them up with a buddy or sending them some recommended links to check out. So those are also available in the new onboarding with a lot more flexibility behind them. And with this new feature, you have the ability to build a custom card that shows up on the new hires homepage, and it's kind of a pretty little layout of all of those different activities, just things for them to be able to do their first few weeks as they get to know the company and people at the company.
I was going to say it's definitely much more inviting than kind of the legacy, tiles and all those individual tiles. Is that now that new one? I've taken a look at it. I've seen it. I think you just said it right. Is that it's definitely prettier, but
Yeah.
that's what you want, right? It's inviting for kind of your new employees, your rehires, or whoever it is. You want them to be enticed to click it because that's where you kind of want your new hire to start with from an onboarding perspective.
Absolutely. And so in addition to that one, we also saw another feature come in that has to do with Qualtrics, and we've seen those features kind of sprinkled throughout last year's releases as well. So for this time, the feature that's come out is the ability to send an employee offboarding survey with Qualtrics. Of course, Qualtrics does require a separate contract with Qualtrics. It's a survey tool. And if you've got that contract, you can now set up a trigger within the system that will send off a survey to employees. Now, of course, within the onboarding, offboarding module, you have the ability to, set up a step that collects, survey information, or you could set up a custom wizard to collect that. This is just one more easy way to get the benefits of Qualtrics, all of the analysis that comes with Qualtrics, and an easy trigger from right within SuccessFactors.
Awesome. Again, we're definitely seeing it all. It's all about the data, right? Big data. We've been kind of talking about it, as we said, in recruiting and now in onboarding and offboarding as well. And again, the connection into Qualtrics. So that's great. Thanks, Nabila.
Absolutely. All right. Lorne, tell us a bit about the 1.0 product. We've seen with several of the last releases that it's not going to be a ton in there. It's more of just kind of keeping it going for those that have it. But tell us what's in there.
Yeah, really there's only one that came out with Onboarding 1.0. And again, it's a minor one overall, but I think it's an important one, is that it's about, again, data and read access and logging in and security. And so everyone on the platform side, it connects into onboarding is what this one is that there's just enhancements to the read audit logs for onboarding data and for sensitive data. And so whenever anybody is downloading or taking a look at potential sensitive data, especially in onboarding, right? There's a lot more sensitive data captured in onboarding. National IDs, banking information, emergency contact information. You can now build read audit logs off of more information from the onboarding side out of your platform area. So again, anyone who's interested in that, or again is asking and talking about sensitive data information on the onboarding side, take a look at that enhancement. But as always, I think with Onboarding 1.0, the biggest elements, especially in the first half, is always about compliance functionality. So again, it is currently April 26, 2021. Everything to do with compliance was already deployed, either late 2020, early 2021. The latest one, I believe, was even in late March, and that was for the UK starter checklist. But for anybody out there who is using US W4, state compliance, Canadian tax forms, UK starter checklist, go out to the SAP community, look up the onboarding compliance functionality, and you'll see a table list of everything that was deployed. Again, it did not wait until this release. Some things were even done even ahead of 2021. That SuccessFactors understands that their biggest benefit for Onboarding 1.0 is still the compliance functionality, and they are still delivering it automatically, universally to all clients who are using that functionality. So go out there and take a look at what was deployed for you and what's important for you.
Absolutely. All right. It looks like we had a question come in from someone that's on the LinkedIn chat. Do you have to have the new redesigned homepage to select the new custom card? So that it looks like that question's about the custom card for the new hire task that we were speaking about. And yes, so you do need to have the latest homepage to use that. And again, this is with onboarding 2.0 or the newer onboarding module. They don't have that feature pulled into the 1.0 product, but it is specifically for the newer onboarding, and yes, it does require the latest homepage for that.
Yep. And, I think it's a good call out as well, is that everything in the What's New viewer, it also does include prerequisites. But if you're out there, there's always the show more. And if it's not, clearly out there, all of the information is in the full release notes. I think it's the right time to call out is continue to look at that, right? We know that these releases came out, it was 2 weekends ago now, and SAP updates it, there's no regular timeline, but I know, we did about 3 or 4 updates since it came out for partners originally, and now it's out kind of the public. So just keep looking at that What's New viewer. Again, it can get updated, especially between now and the May production release. I'm sure there'll be things that will be updated, potentially even withdrawn, right? Is that now's the time to also call out is test your preview environments. Everybody, please. The process is to open up an SAP support ticket and call out any issues that you are seeing. And, I'm going to kind of plug in right now is one of the biggest ones that we have seen for some of our clients. It is rare, but it does happen, is that this is a release that you cannot have a BizX preview, an environment on the BizX preview server with your onboarding environment on a production server. What's happening is that your onboarding security roles are not connecting in through role-based permissioning. So if you're using your onboarding user and onboarding permission syncs, those are not connecting properly, which means that your onboarding admins will not have full admin capability. As well, if you have Employee Central, onboarding data is not connecting into manage pending hires. You can't even click the connect fields between onboarding and EC or manage pending hires. So again, we have called this out. SAP has called this out. They have disclaimers kind of when you're doing an onboarding refresh. You should have your onboarding environment and your BizX environment on the same server, being it preview if you want the early release, or on production. Again, if you're not interested, or for whatever reason you just don't want the early release functionality and you kind of want that test to be a clear mirror of your production environment. But I cannot stress it enough for anybody who is out there that has a disconnect. I think this is, Nabila, I think this is the first time we've seen something like this occur in about a year and a half, right?
Something this major. Yeah. In general, as Lorne said, best practice is to always have it on the same data center, the same stack, either preview or production. I think we haven't really seen a ton of major issues for our clients that have the discrepancy, and this is definitely a time that we're seeing some issues there.
Yeah, so that's definitely the big one for onboarding. Kind of while we're on the topic, though, Nabila, why don't we call out a couple of the minor elements that we've been seeing in terms of the release notes? Anything kind of call out either on recruiting, CSB, onboarding side, what we've seen as early bugs that SAP is probably aware of because we've raised it, and that they'll potentially be working on over the next couple of weeks before production release.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one that we saw on the career site builder side, actually, that had to do with an impact to videos. It's a little strange. It seems very unrelated, but we did find that if you enable the new cookie banner in your preview site, it stops videos from even being shown on your site. So it's not just that the video won't play. If you have a video component, the component just disappears completely and you can't even see it. It seems very unrelated, and Dresden, one of our resident RMK experts, came across this and kind of clicked around and tried to figure it out. SAP is working on it, and so we do hope for a resolution quickly. But something to keep in mind: if you turn on that cookie banner and your videos suddenly stop working, it's a known bug.
One other one that a friend kind of called out for us, so thank you. You know who you are if you're listening. Said that on the recruiting side, the banners and the themes are not actually holding true to how they are being presented between the preview environment and the production environment. So even though the themes are the exact same between the two environments, the coloring of kind of the sublinks when you go into some of the modules are very, very faint. And, you know, my eyesight is still pretty good, but I had trouble seeing it. It was kind of almost like the exact white, maybe like an eggshell white off of a clean white. I don't know. Someone else who knows the color paints might know a little bit better of a comparison there. But it was really tough to see. And so I know we've raised that to SAP, and they're going to be looking into that. So again, now that it's general release, everybody out there, everyone that's listening to this, do your testing and just create an SAP support ticket. Call out which release item, if it's connected to a release item. If it's not, just say that you believe this is due to the release. Give as many examples, comparison, print screens. Give SAP access into your production environment and your test environment so they can do their own comparisons. Let's all kind of come together as a community and help one another. Make sure that when this is released into production, we have as minimal bugs as possible for each other.
Absolutely.
So I think to end off, I think we did the onboarding roadmap. So let's kind of just talk about what's going on and potentially coming out for the recruiting roadmap. So Nabila, anything kind of coming out in the next half of 2021 that you're excited for here on the onboarding side?
Yeah, so on the onboarding side, in the roadmap, I was excited to see that for the second half of 2021, so in the next release, we are expected to start seeing some migration tools. Now, this is something that SAP had as part of their vision since the new onboarding product was released. Some of you might know the onboarding product used to be called Onboarding 2018. So since back in then when it was called ONB 2018, the SAP's had it in mind that they want to be able to find a way to help customers move from 1.0 to the latest version. And so we're expecting to see the first set of those migration templates in the next release. It does say right now in the roadmap selected migration tools. So it's important to know that, as Lorne said before, this really is a rebuild. If you look at the new onboarding version, it is a completely different platform, a completely different build structure than the 1.0 version. And so we'll see. Our eyes and ears are open to see what comes out with those migration tools that can make it easier for our clients to make a move. We're still kind of waiting to hear more specifics on that.
Yeah, and I think it's important to also say that, they're saying that it's going to continue through into 2022 on that roadmap. So anyone who's out there who's thinking, oh, I'm going to wait until 2H 2021 and I'll be able to migrate it, that's not going to be the case, it sounds like. So again, it still is a build. It's on a different platform, but any little things that they can kind of help migrate over and make it more of a copy, let's say, obviously we're all waiting for and we'd all take advantage of, but don't want to kind of sell it out there that it's going to be an easy as a just complete migration. Small pieces probably here and there, but still a rebuild. One thing that I will say that will actually bring it above the onboarding 1.0 parity is supposedly they're coming out with worksheet calculations on the Canadian compliance forms. So right now on onboarding 1.0 on the Canadian's compliance, you have to add up there's 13 lines they have to add up on your tax forms. So now if it will actually calculate it themselves, I'm a math nerd. I enjoy doing it. I still have my calculator on the side as need be. But if the system can kind of calculate A plus B plus C for me without me misreading a number or anything like that, I'm all for it. So it's a small one, but at the same time, when it comes to tax, it could have a big impact.
Lauren, did you just reveal that you enjoy doing your taxes? I think that's a party of one.
I like it when I get the refunds. Let's say that.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there. All
awesome.
Right.
Anything else kind of, Nabila, that you want to highlight that in 2022 that might be coming out on the onboarding release?
So in 2022, as you said, Lauren, they're going to continue those migration tools. We're also expecting a new trigger, again, with Qualtrics, to be able to trigger a survey when onboarding is complete. We have a lot of clients that really want to be able to survey new hires on their immediate onboarding experience, and then maybe 30 or 90 days later, how it's going for them. The ability to trigger a survey right when onboarding is done to get that initial new hire experience is going to be really valuable. So looking forward to that. And then another one, which I'm super excited about, we don't have a lot of details yet, but on the roadmap for 2022 is a little plug about how to handle rehires and being able to process rehires using previous employment data. This is something that a lot of our clients have really struggled with because in the 1.0 product, there's not a standard solution to be able to easily manage rehires. And now with the new onboarding solution that is built on the exact same EC platform, the data is there to be able to process rehires. So I'm so excited to see what comes out of that.
I agree. I really hope that that's kind of a 1H 2022 initiative. You said it, is that's probably the biggest thing that we get from the onboarding side and the connection of offboarding side of how can we make it seamless? Like we're just rehiring them, and especially if it's seasonal or, furlough during, unfortunately, these tough times or anything like that, to kind of be able to reconnect the rehires and make their onboarding or rehire onboarding experience as seamless as possible so they don't have to re-enter their banking information or something like that, or even like the numbers and earlier matching and making it better for IT to reconnect those internal connection points. That's probably the biggest one that I'm excited for as well with the onboarding roadmap.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that wraps us up. We've covered the best of recruiting and onboarding. Lorne, I think you did an excellent job. I think you should take a bow. Excellent work.
Thank you, Nabila. I definitely enjoyed this. And again, for everybody out there, more to definitely come. Grab Rizing, grab Nabila, grab myself on LinkedIn. Anything that we did not share for this, we'll be happy to kind of connect with you after the fact. But Nabila, thank you so much. As always, it is so much fun to kind of present with you on LinkedIn Live sessions. And I look forward to kind of the production release in May for us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lorne. Thank you to everyone who joined us today.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.